Hello everyone, I'm Jilson. Download the source file below in the description. Let's get started. In this lesson, we'll start studying about formulas on Excel. I have the previous table we already created. I formatted this table, but I'll show how to do this in the future. For now, we focus on the formulas on Excel. I click here in cell B5. Formulas in Excel, we use an equal sign. I want to calculate the profit, sales minus expenses. I can type the number direct, use minus another number, and press enter. If I do this, Excel calculate the profit for me. The problem here is if I update this number, if I double click here and change this number for another number and press enter, the profit continue the same because this not update automatic this type of formula. To escape this, I can press Ctrl Z to undo this and edit this formula. Instead of using the numbers direct in the formulas, I can click and select and delete this. Instead of typing the numbers here, I can use the cell reference. Here I have column B and row 3. I can type B3. If I type B3, Excel highlight the cell. Minus, I type now B4, the cell address. You can see Excel change the color. Blue refers the first cell and red refers the another cell. With this, it's easy for understand the formulas and operators. B3 minus B4 and press enter, I have the same result here. But now if I double click here and change this number and press enter, profit is now automatically update here. This is more efficient way to use a cell here on Excel. I will delete this and press enter. Another way you can use it to type your formulas is start with equals and then using the arrows on keyboard to select the cell instead of typing and press minus, and again use the arrows on keyboard to select another cell. When the cell are already selected, I press enter, the same result. I can press Ctrl Z to undo this. I will delete this again and press enter. Finally, you can use the mouse to select the cells. I can start equals, click on the cell I want to select, minus, click on another cell and press enter. This is the most common way to calculate on Excel. Another important thing here is how to use the status bar to quickly have information about these numbers. If I select this entire sales here for the first 3 months and I want you to know the total of these sales, I can see here at the bottom I have average, the count 3 and the sum of this total. This is status bar minimal operations. I can click with the right button here in this list and I can include another type of calculations, maximum, minimum. If I want you to know the maximum value in this selection, I can click here and minimum, and now Excel display this new information, minimum and max. Only need to click with the right button and click to select or unselect. You can change this analysis you have here in the status bar. But I want these values here in total, not only in status bar. When they select the values, I can start with equals. I can use the cell address here, but if I wanted to analyze a large amount of data, is not efficient to type one cell address, another cell address. You can do this with a function. I start the sum, S-U-N function. When I start type the sum function here on the right, you can see the description of this function, and you can see now others functions start with the same name. You can double click here or press tab to select these functions. The functions need two parameters. First, the numbers you want to summarize. In my case, I want to summarize this interval from January to March. I can click, hold the mouse button and drag over the 3 month, and Excel type this address for me. I can close the parentheses, it's optional, and press enter. Excel calculates my total of the sales from the first 3 months. If I wanted to edit this formula, I can use a formula bar here at the top, click and direct edit this formula and press enter, or I can double click and delete numbers or include another number and press enter again. This is most common way to calculate here on Excel. Another important thing to know here is the operation orders. First, Excel uses parentheses, then division and the asterisk is to multiplication, and then addition and minus. I want to know about how much will be the profit if I increase and growth 7%. How to do this? I can start with equal, select here B5 plus multiplication, the percent, 7%, G3, and press enter. Now I know 7% growth on profit is 490. I want to summarize this number with the profit I already have. I can double click here and edit it. I can click before B5 and include a plus sign and click here and click here again. Now I have the value is already on B5 plus the result of this multiplication, B5 plus G3. If I press enter, now Excel has the new value from profit with 7% growth. How Excel do this? This operation order here. I double click. First, the multiplication represented here by asterisk. High priority is compared minus and plus operation. Excel run this part first, and finally Excel summarize the result of this part with this value. But with parentheses, I can change the order. If I want this part execute first, I can select, include a parenthesis in this part. Excel first execute this part and then execute the second part. I press enter. The result is wrong, I know. With parentheses, you can control the operation orders on Excel. In some cases, in advanced formulas, you can use sometimes 2 parentheses or 3 parentheses to control how Excel calculate the things, the order of calculate. I will delete this and press enter to have the correct value. I will save this. This is how important is operation order. I will use the worksheet cell reference here at the bottom. It's the same table we already working, but for now we focus on cell reference. I want to calculate the profit for the month February and March. I don't need to create the formula again. I can use cell reference and copy this formula for the next month. You can see here in the right corner, when I select the cell, Excel highlight the cell. If I hover my mouse at the right button in the cell, the mouse changes. With this, I can click, hold my mouse and copy the cell and release the mouse. When I release the mouse, Excel calculate profit for the other month for me. But Excel is smart. Excel understands I need to update this formula. If I click here, I can see this is B3 minus B4 for January. In the February, don't make sense to copy the sum reference because I'm in February. I want you to know the profit on February. With this, Excel update the cell reference. Instead of using column B, Excel update the formula to C3 minus C4, and now I have the correct result. The same for March, D3 minus D4. It's very easy to copy formulas and Excel update the reference. This works the same for vertical. Now I want you to know the total for expenses here. I can over my mouse at the bottom of the cell. When my mouse changes, I can click, hold my mouse, press, and drag. When I finish, I release the mouse and Excel calculate all these numbers for me. This is easy way to copy formulas on Excel. Another important thing to know here is about relative reference and absolute reference. Now we use a relative reference, relative to the column and relative the row. Relative because here I'm in column B. When I copy the formula, Excel update to the column C. But imagine in this situation, I want you to calculate the tax amount over profit. I have a tax rate here and I want to apply this tax over my profit. To do this, I start with equal sign and then click in profit asterisk to multiply by the tax rate. I will multiply the profit amount plus the tax rate. When I press enter, Excel calculate 7% over my profit is 490. Okay, now let's copy the formula to the February. I click here and copy. Oops, 0. What happened? If I look at my formula bar, Excel multiply C5, okay. If I double click here, Excel multiply column C, row 5, C5, H3, Excel update from column B to column C, okay, it's right. But now Excel update the cell reference here in column G to column H. I don't want this. I want this formula to use this reference. I can fix this with absolute reference. I press escape, delete this. To fix a column or row, I use the fix reference. I double click here. I use a $sign before the column I want to fix. If I use a $sign before the column G, I fix the column and I want to fix the row. I can press enter and copy my formula, and Excel use relative the first part, the profit, reference the February, okay, but the cell about the tax continue the same. This is what I need. I have this calculate now correct. But if you don't want to type this manually, you can use the keyboard to change this. You can press and hold function K on keyboard and press F4. You remove first the column. If you press F4 again, you remove the row and put again in the column, and press F4 again, you remove all. If you press F4 again, you can have this sign in the column and row. I will press enter. You can manually enter $sign or use the keyboard F4 to change this. You can use for columns and rows. It's not necessary to use both. In my case, I want to fix the column. I don't want the column change, and I want to fix the row because I don't want the row changes. I will press enter. If I want to calculate about the total tax, I can do the same. I can equal, select the cell, use the asterisk sign and multiply by the total. And now I know the total tax I will pay. I will save this. This will work horizontal or vertical. Now you understand relative and absolute reference. Another important feature here, if I want to escape this fixed column and rows, I can name this cell. Here at the top I have name box. I can use a name box for this cell. I can type tax rates without the space and press enter, and then instead of using absolute reference here, I can double click on the formula, delete the first part and start typing. When I start typing, Excel show me tax rate, the name I give for this cell. I can select or press tab, and now Excel uses not a relative reference or absolute reference. Excel uses the cell name as a name range and press enter. Excel do the same calculations, but now I can copy the cell again, and now Excel multiply the reference C5 multiplied by tax rate with name. Excel understand the address of the cell and use this address to calculate. Is another alternative methodology you can use for calculate. You can use relative reference, absolute reference, or you can use name range for cells, or you can use both, depends of your data and the situation. I'll press enter and save this worksheet. That's it. I hope you like this video. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe in my channel so you can receive new contents like this every weekend. And if you want to continue practice with me, you can watch my full courses Excel for Beginners, complete free, with the link below in the description, and you can see the link at the right corner. See you in the next lesson. Bye.